I need an intro line. But now that you're here, you know how Netflix shows have those expository dialogue moments that explain the entire plot for people that are not paying attention? Well, Amazon Prime is doing the same. 56 Days, the newest limited series adaptation of a book that got recommended to me by 3 different people. So now I know who hates me. Thank you for that. No, I'm just kidding. Guys, this show. Wow. After a chance supermarket encounter, Oliver and Sierra embark on an intense relationship. When a savagely murdered corpse surfaces 56 days later, the investigation delves into their turbulent love story, revealing grim secrets. What an excuse to have a show. I present to you 50 Shades of Grey for Gen Z. The series unfolds in 2 different timelines. One where we follow the story of Oliver and Sierra over the course of said 56 days, and the other in present time with the most useless police investigation ever. It's genuinely the most inconsequential, time-consuming, borderline boring half of the story that we've ever gotten. The waste of everybody's time. Just know that it's 2 detectives, and one of them is sleeping with a criminal and lying to the police and getting bribes, and the other one wants to quit his job because he hates his job, and he sleeps with women who make TikToks holding his gun, which is against the law. And they also text each other cute things like, "Oh, this crime scene stinks like your marriage." No, that's your tampon. Like, can we not? And not to sound mean, but this series, it feels like it was written for 10-year-olds.
Let's go, skinny jeans. I didn't get those things around my arms.
Like, the dialogue has been watered down to such, like, basic exchanges, almost like they want the plot to move a specific way. But again, they can't make it happen organically through normal dialogue that people would have.
I don't understand how you people do this for a living. We wanted to be douchebag landlords, but we failed the test.
Unnatural, fake and gay. Sorry. And the acting,
You trying to impress me?
Maybe.
It's working.
let's just hope they all got paid very well. Because everybody deserves to be paid well even if they do a bad job. Not to say that they did a bad job.
Sierra, you want to go get a coffee with me?
We even get some Amazon product placement because they couldn't not fondle their own balls while they're at it. Advertising your shows in your shows, it has to be that's some level of narcissism that you can only attribute to billionaires and streaming services, because Netflix also does that a lot when characters are watching Netflix originals and you're watching a Netflix original and I want to walk off a cliff and die. But there are positives about this series, such as Sierra, the main character, is played by Dove Cameron. And after watching the show, it is my belief that she was hired solely to serve face the entire time. Every single scene is just face and face and face, like distractingly beautiful. I've also never seen a wig look this bad and this good at the same time. The thing about Sierra is you can't tell her nothing, okay? To her face, can't say shit. Like that, I am obsessed with her. But also her voice is so sultry.
Grilled cheese with mayonnaise.
I'm questioning myself. Is it too late to come out? No, I'm just joking. I'm kidding. She is beautiful though. Like there was no need for her to walk on set every day and dog walk everyone like this. It is insane. I would have been embarrassed to be on screen with her. What is anyone even doing next to her? I need to stop. Another positive of the show, we get men pleasuring women. That's what caring partners do. Giving head. See, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. If you love your partner, give head. I'm doing advocacy for head giving, so you better participate. Sign my petition down below. There's no petition, I'm kidding. And at the center of the story, a decomposing body inside a bathtub with the question lingering throughout the season. A question we've not asked ourselves this much since Scream Queens premiered in 2015. Who's the body in the bathtub? As usual, I watched all 8 episodes, so you don't have to, and I'm gonna tell you all about the story, minus all of the unnecessary bullshit, because we don't have time for that, right? So if that sounds like a good idea, get a drink, get a snack, sit tight, get comfortable. Let's get cozy, and let's talk 56 days. But not for 56 days, because that's insane. That's psychotic. Let me set the scene. Episode 1 starts with a masked assailant breaking into a really fancy apartment, and on their way out, they look at the bathtub and there's a body in there, so they trip the alarm. police is called. And from then onwards, the present time storyline is really inconsequential. We follow two detectives and they are horrible. They're both written as man pigs, even though one of them is a woman. It's so why? Why are we following these two? And I like her. She was in How to Get Away with Murder. But this character, ooh, rewind 56 days and we start at the beginning of our story. Sierra Wise, played by Dove Cameron, she has a NASA tote bag and look at how she writes. I think her and Taylor Swift need to take a break from signing autographs because writing like that is diabolical. Oh, it's no, don't do it. She loves staring at slices of cucumber. And then one day she has a meet cute at our supermarket. She bumps into Oliver something. Can't remember his last name, but it doesn't matter. He chats her up outside because he liked her tote bag, the NASA tote bag. And they talk a little bit about spaceships, yada, yada. And he invites her for a coffee. They have a coffee and the dialogue is really bad. It's like we're playing 50 questions. Like, so, where are you from? What do you do? What do you like doing? I know this is how people talk when they're getting to know each other, but it's also how the series is just information dumping on us, and it's really unoriginal. But Sierra has an older sister, and Oliver has a younger brother. She works in tech support. He works in architectural technology. I know. What even is that? And they've both recently moved to Boston. Finally, a TV series that isn't set in LA or New York City. Am I right, kids? They book a date to go see a documentary together about the space stuff that they were talking about. But as she walks away, he looks at her intimidatingly. And he does this a lot. He looks very mysterious and sinister. It's all like to sprinkle seeds of doubt of who's the bad person here. On day 3, we find out that Oliver has several identities. And that same night, they meet at a bar and they get to talking so much that they end up not going to the documentary because they wouldn't have time, and they're having such a beautiful time talking to each other. And then Oliver excuses himself and he goes to the bathroom and he calls his therapist in a panic and says that he's afraid of what might happen because he thinks he's doing it again. And as he walks out of the bathroom, we see a ginger lady who looks at him with a concerning look. So far, Oliver is a bit of a red flag for the way that he acts and the way that he looks intensely at something. And by the end of the date, he kisses her very passionately and she is very into it. On day 4, Sierra speaks to her sister on the phone and we find out that there's a lot of money trouble back home. That's why Sierra's in town. She's here to make money and send money back home so they don't have to sell the house. Their father is gone, their mom has gone crazy, and we eventually find out that they also have a dead brother. So things are not very happy at Casa de Sierra. That same day, Oliver and Sierra go see the documentary that they missed the night before, and Oliver laughs at a very inappropriate part of the documentary when someone dies in an explosion. He laughs out loud in a dead silent theater. It's very inappropriate. And another red flag that she willfully ignores. She ignores it because he takes her to this cute place to pretend like they're skydiving, and then they start making out. And then they go back to his place, which turns out to be the place that we saw at the beginning of the episode. And it gets real, like, Dom Daddy really fast. He's like, we could talk, I can make a drink, and we could pretend like we want to talk when we really just want to get to it. So take off your jacket. And they start fucking. But, like, 50 Shades of Grey for Gen Z. The blue tones, the stylization, the moaning, the music, the angles, it's all very like, okay. I mean, if nothing, at least the show's gonna give us some sex. I'll take it, sure. Also, Dove looks fucking gorgeous. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. And in the middle of the night, Sierra wakes up with some really loud grunting and finds Oliver doing this weird type of yoga in his living room. What is that? The middle of the night. Imagine bringing someone home, you guys fuck, and then you get out of bed, you go to your living room to sit on the floor, and what is he doing? And the morning after, he explains to her that he has trouble sleeping, and sometimes he does that. And when she asks him why he can't sleep, his answer is,
I don't know how anyone with a brain can sleep on this planet. Putin just needs to bite the bullet and drop the fucking bomb already.
can we not? What are we doing? What are we kick spy visit, right? And then on her way to work, Sierra is accosted by the ginger lady from the bathroom. Remember her? Well, ginger lady, whose name is Jane Miller, says that Oliver is not who he says he is, and she's seemingly trying to warn Sierra, but Sierra is very, very cutty. She's so
I really don't want to be rude, but I just don't see how this is any of your business.
ow! Listen, the series may be disappointing, but I honestly didn't care. Dove Cameron is so watchable. Jane Miller then says he's not who you think he is, and Sierra says, yes, he is, and walks away. And here comes the plot twist, guys. Sierra is not who she says she is. She's also lying. Everybody sucks. Oh, and of course, the central mystery point plot thing. Who's in the bathtub? Whose skeleton is that? On day 9, 4 days after their last interaction, Sierra sends naughty pictures to Oliver inviting him for lunch. So they meet for lunch. And why? She starts fondling him under the table. This table. You can see everything. People on the other side of the city can see what they're doing. Like, can we stop this straggart behavior? We also learned in this conversation that Oliver doesn't trust banks and Sierra doesn't trust social media after a guy tried buying a car with her sister's identity. These are all lies, but you know what? She delivers them so seamlessly. Her character, Sierra's character, she's very interesting and complex. Once you get to the end and you understand like the plot twist of it all, you're like, wow, she's fascinating because of the whole plan she concocted. But let's carry on. They walk out of the restaurant and she's like, can I see you tonight? And he says, not if I see you first. And can we spend a little bit longer writing these lines? Cause what the? And they start making out and Sierra drags him to the side of a building and they have sex up against a wall. And people complain about drag queens and gays at Pride. And here we have two straights in the middle of the day. Day of the week, mind you. They're both supposed to be at work or on their way to work from lunch, and instead they're bumping uglies outside in public. Can straight people act normal for a second when they're outside? Sierra then heads home because he is meeting her at her apartment later that night. And what does she do? She grabs some termites from a corner of the room and spreads them around the room to paint a picture of a massive infestation of termites. She is so smart. I love her. I love her. I love Sierra. And then we get this loose scene that only comes back in like episode 5. It's really weird, but we see Oliver's boss. His name is Elliot Burbain. Burhane, what a stupid name. Elliot Burhane speaking to his wife, and she is not happy that Oliver is working for Elliot, and she's not happy that he's in town, and says that he keeps running away from his past. Anytime his past catches up to him, he keeps changing identities, and she doesn't want her husband to be part of the massive cover-up.
Cover-up. Now it's Oliver Gate?
A cover-up. There's a crime, something happened. Oliver's dangerous. All these red flags, all of these like intense brooding stares at the camera. And this conversation then just like exists in a vacuum. And then his wife comes back in episode 5. And I'm like, why? What is this chronologically? On day 10, the day after Oliver spent the night at Sierra, she gets a fake call that she set up with an alarm to pretend like she has to move out for 2 to 3 weeks for a massive extermination of the termites that Oliver just saw in her apartment the night before. And she says all of this in front of him. Just perfectly calculated for him to be like, hey, why don't you stay with me? I have a spare room and everything. Like y'all are going to be using that spare room for anything other than fucking maybe like a big lair. The red room from 50 Shades. Yeah. Oh my God. This is 25 strokes of vanilla. Wow. Around this point, Oliver gets a letter in the mail and it's just an empty envelope and it has the name Oliver St. Ledger. And at the same time, Sierra is checking the billionaire family St. Ledger. So Oliver's a billionaire. I hate billionaires. Oliver is really mad because now someone knows that he's there because he changed his identity. I think his name now is Oliver Kennedy, not Oliver St. Ledger. But what he does is he calls his therapist in a panic. He has like really high anxiety, and his therapist is this vermin.
Okay, so your plan is to engage in a physically intimate relationship while keeping your emotional connection entirely superficial.
Tells him to burn the letter and to
Break it off now.
okay, break up with your girlfriend because I'm bored. Oh, nah. I think the therapist wants to fuck Oliver. I think that's against the practice of psychiatry. Could be wrong. And Sierra calls her mom and tells her that she is there to make them pay, to get our family what they owe us. And then she moves in, and as soon as she moves in, they start porking because they ain't nothing better to do than to have some dirty sex. And then that night, he shoots something up his vein that makes him pass out, and she tries to open his safe while he naps and fails. On day 11, Oliver explains to Sierra that what he shot up was propofol and that he uses it to sleep. And then he explains that his insomnia isn't, regular insomnia, but it is in fact a hormonal dysregulation caused by high anxiety. So he uses propofol to sleep for long periods of time. Like a widow baby. And turns out Sierra doesn't work in tech support. She just walks into the building every day and then walks right out from the back door. She then speaks to her sister and says that she may have access to some funds from the St. Ledger family. So she's there to basically steal from Oliver. She's a con artist. And Oliver's boss may be a little too into him. It's a funny side plot that we find out that his boss used to be best buddies with his father back when they were in college and may have even had stronger feelings, but his father just ignored that and remained friends with him. And it's then heavily implied that the boss has transferred those feelings to the son. So now he lingers a little bit, and he's just very caring and always there for him and just ready to help. Eee. What an unnecessary little side plot. It's so pointless. It's so pointless, but I love it. Keep it up. And then while they're stuck in traffic, she gives him head. But to be fair, after the first time they slept together, he also gave her head like the morning of. So you know what? They are kind of perfect for each other. Oliver then gets another letter, this time with a phone number, and it's addressed to Ollie St. Ledger. So he really freaks out. He panics a lot. Panics so much that days go by and we see, time pass by. It's like that scene in Twilight, except instead of a sad girl looking out the window, it's him grunting with his hot yoga in front of the window. And by day 16, eventually he decides to pay his therapist a visit to get more propofol and notices that he's being followed by Jane Miller. This man it feels like he's unraveling mentally, and he gets the therapist and the therapist just prescribes him the drugs like it's nothing. And when he asks her if he's still seeing that girl that he's sleeping with, he says no. They realize that things were never gonna work between them, and he broke it off. So he's lying to his therapist. Wow. And then Oliver nearly catches her trying to open his safe, but she dodges his questions by getting naked and into the shower. And then we find out from present time from the detectives that Oliver changed his identity after dodging arrest for first-degree murder, and he's sometimes referred to as the Narrow River Killer. So he's a killer and she's a con artist. Oh my God, match made in heaven, right, guys? But at this point, I'm thinking, wait a minute. He killed someone and she has a dead brother. That surely is not a coincidence. On day 16, though, Sierra successfully breaks into his laptop and into his bank account, and he's got $11.8 million there. Oh my fucking God. To ever see that number in my bank account, I think I would combust on the spot, really. But also, there's a quick little thing that shows a recurring payment to the therapist. His name is Dan Troxler or something. $25,000? Does his therapy come with blowjobs on demand? Does it come with a gold car? 25 grand just to hear a billionaire cry about how sad and depressed he is and how anxious he feels and how he can't sleep? Yeah, sign me up. Are there any billionaires out there who need a therapist or someone to talk to? If you are really rich and you're willing, fuck yeah, call me. I'll listen to your problems as long as that money hits my account. I don't care what you did. I am all ears. Anyway, Sierra transfers a little over $100,000 to a fake trust for her sister to have access to. And then she calls her sister and says, it's going to take about 1 to 2 weeks, but call me, text me as soon as the money hits your account. Great. And then Oliver sees the ginger lady, Jane Miller, follows her and realizes that she's living in the same apartment complex that he is because he's staying at the company apartment that his boss hooked him up with. And then we find out that Jane Miller is staying at his other apartment from his boss because they're friends. He tries confronting her, but she dodges his unwelcome stalking almost, and instead he smashes her car. And again, that never does anything for the story. It never comes back, really. It's fluff to make you think that he is really crazy and dangerous, which could be true because I haven't told you the full truth yet. It's gonna blow you away. Oliver calls his therapist again, and we realize that happens a lot. Like, this man cannot live without talking to this Dan Troxler. Again, I am available to take calls day and night for 25 grand a month. You can punch me every day, and I'll say, thank you, daddy. He calls him again, and the therapist is like, you're acting like someone who's been so you better have broken up with that girl. And if not, you need to do it now. And I'm like, why is it that every problem that he has seems to come from the fact that he interacts with people? It's like his therapist is constantly trying to isolate him from other people. Like, no, that's bad for you. Cut it off. Let's go back to meds and fake hot yoga in the middle of the night and not having any friends. But Sierra gets home and overhears just enough of the conversation to realize that that's what her therapist is doing, trying to get him to break it off with her. So she waltzes in and shuts that laptop and is like, whoa, why are you letting this old fuck dictate every decision of your life? And he's like, whoa, what the fuck is wrong with you? I just met you. And she's like, yeah, and I'm trying to get to know you. Talk to me. Don't talk to this overpriced, overbloated big piece of shit.
Well, God forbid I should want to get to know you. Why can't I know you?
I don't know what I even expect.
What exactly do you need to know?
The acting in the argument did get challenging a little there for a bit. Yeah, yeah.
I'm avoidant, and you're insecure. I'm glad that we cleared that up. That's good.
Well, there you have it, kids. Their first fight. But look how beautiful she looks. Can everyone shut up? She's on my screen right now. Hours later, Oliver comes back and he apologizes and they make up. And they have sex again, except this time it's different. The body movements are more intimate. It's all a bit more romantic. Almost like Oliver and Sierra are like totally making love for the first time. And then during pillow talk, to further gain his trust, she admits that she was snooping and she was, keying his birthday into the safe just to see if it opened. And then, oh my God, what she says made me throw up a little bit in my mouth. I swallowed it after, of course, obviously. I always swallow. Oh my God. I think the safe was like a metaphor for breaking into your brain or something. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, no, I don't like that. But guess what, guys? For the first time, he falls asleep with no drugs or grunting yoga. Yay! And then days go by. Day 21, day 26, day 29. They keep bonding. They keep falling for each other. Everything's going great, really. Honestly, what could go wrong? Day 32, Sierra has an idea. Let's do psychedelics and like totally have revelatory moments. It's St. Patrick's Day. We're in Boston. What else could we be doing better than this? And I want to ask the crowd, the audience, if there's anyone from Boston or familiar with the Boston scene. She said it like St. Patrick's is a huge thing in Boston. Is that true? And if so, why? They take a psychedelic chocolate that has psilocybin in it. Yeah, they go and they trip balls at a street party, and then they bump into Elliot, Oliver's boss, who invites them for a drink. And of course they oblige, and they walk into that bar only to find at the table Allison, his wife, and Jane Miller. And then they all have to pretend like they haven't spoken, like Jane hasn't accosted Sierra in the middle of the street, or like Oliver hasn't threatened Jane. So Elliot drags Oliver to the bar to get some drinks, and the girlies, try warning Sierra again. They're like, girl, do you not know who he is? And she's like, yeah, I know exactly who he is. And what about it?
He killed someone.
I know.
She's so... Allison even says, how can you be with him? I don't understand. And Sierra just goes, No one's asking you to.
I don't understand.
No one's asking you to.
Oh my God, just shoot me right now. I'm done. This is it. I love Sierra. She's so, see you next Tuesday. Yes. We find out a little bit more information. Turns out Jane is an investigative reporter who was in town doing a story. And when she told Elliot that she was coming to town, he offered her the apartment of the company because they're friends and had no idea that the story was Oliver. So when Oliver tells him, he's like, no, of course, I'm going to set it right. But back at the table, Jane is like, well, Sierra, I just want to give him a chance to tell the story in his own words, but I guess he doesn't want to. Jane then says that Oliver had a girlfriend and he was going to propose to her, but he wanted her to know the full truth before he did, and he seemingly told her the truth and she freaked the fuck out. And when she hears this, like something in Sierra changes, like, the full truth. So she gets up and goes to the bathroom and speaks to her sister on the phone, who just texted her because she realized that 100 grand just dropped in her account. And Sierra just, for some reason, lays out loudly the plan, what she did in a bathroom inside a stall, like not knowing who could be outside. Guess who was outside listening to it all? Jane Miller. Yeah, Jane Miller now knows that Sierra just got into Oliver's life to embezzle a shit ton of money. So she threatens her or blackmails her. She's like, I can help you tell your story. You can be the girl who fell for a man only to find out that he was the Narrow River killer, and when you found out it was too late, you could get a book and then a podcast and a movie, and you can rewrite the terms of your own existence. Or I'll go to the police and tell them that you just embezzled one of the most powerful families in America. And Sierra gets real up and close and says, I am the girl who fell in love with a killer, but he didn't tell me anything because I knew it all. I knew all the aliases. I knew all the past cities. I knew everything. And tonight, when he tells me what really happened, I am never going to tell you.
Who are you?
Sierra's crazy. Outside the bathroom, Oliver sees Jane leave and then sees Sierra and starts freaking out, has like a panic attack, so she has to walk him outside. This man can't do shit. Like, anytime something mildly inconvenient happens, he either calls his therapist in a fit, screaming and crying about needing more drugs to sleep, or he's just like freaking out in front of Sierra, like, get your shit together, dude. But she takes him outside, puts some headphones in his head to like cancel out the noise, and then tearfully delivers a monologue that serves as a recap of everything that's happened so far. You know, she says that she came here with a plan. She had a plan to get what he owed her, but then things got real and now she's fallen for him and she doesn't know what to do because she knows that things could never work between them, and she's really torn. She's really struggling, and I'm so distracted by her face. Even crying, she looks this good. Remember in Bridesmaids when Annie tells Helen that she's an ugly crier and she's like, no, I'm not really. I'm like, yes, you are. Well, Dove is not. Just look at that. Wow. And while this is happening inside the bar, Allison is arguing with Elliot, and she's drunkenly telling him how much she hates that Oliver is back in their lives. And again, the writing is really bad.
He made a mistake.
Oh, it wasn't a mistake, Elliot. I've made plenty of those.
The acting is... And then outside the bar, Oliver confronts Allison like, why do you hate me? And she goes off, says that she hates his father, his dead father, and hates him. She then walks off, and Oliver goes after her, and then she's run over by a truck and dies. And this only happens because in present time, around like episode 2 or 3, we hear that Elliot's wife died very recently, and Jane Miller then tells the police that she thinks that Oliver did it. So it's like it serves as a plot device for present time detectives investigating the story, uncovering all these details. But again, nothing ever comes of anything. These two detectives are the most useless people. I'll get to that. But Allison dies horrifically. And by the end of the episode, Oliver gets home and says that he finally wants to tell Sierra the truth. Day 32 is when Oliver reveals the truth. quote unquote. When he was younger, he had two friends, Paul and Shane, and they used to hang out by the river in this local place where all the kids met up. And though they got along, there were obviously some arguments and butting heads. And then one day things got physical between Paul and Shane, and they were fighting, and somehow they ended up inside the river. Paul was beating Shane, but then Shane got the upper hand and he was pushing Paul's head underwater. And Elliot says that he just could not move and all he wanted was to, stop Shane from doing what he was doing, but he couldn't. And so Paul drowned and he was on the scene. And ever since, he's tried to put this event past him, and it has ruined every single relationship that he's ever had, and says that he hopes that they can put this behind them. But she says they can't because he's a fucking liar. And she storms off angry, like seething. And at this point, my mind was fully convinced that Sierra is Paul's sister. Her brother is the one who got killed, and she's here to take revenge. She gets home and finds her sister Shyla there. Shyla's there because earlier in the conversation they had the day before in the bathroom, Sierra admitted that she is sleeping with him, and Shyla freaked the fuck out. Like, that is a no-no, okay? Sleeping with Oliver St. Ledger is capital sin number one in that household. And she brought a gun so she can help Sierra kill Oliver and get rid of the body, and no one will ever find out. And Sierra's like, I think you're a little crazy there, sis. I need you to trust me to handle this. And in the conversation, Shyla realizes that Sierra is in love with Oliver. She's saying that he is suffering and that he can't sleep and he feels really bad. And he's not, having the perfect life that maybe they thought he was. So the first thing Shyla does is go to the therapist's office, Dan Troxler or Traxler. I don't know his last name, Dan, this piece of shit. And that's because this therapist used to be the school counselor. Yeah, so he started off as school counselor for Oliver and Paul and Shane, and then somehow he ended up being a private therapist. 25 grand, fucking hell. She shows up and starts screaming to scare off his clients, and he says, "Did you forget about the restraining order?" So he's got a restraining order against her. But she tells him that he needs to get Oliver, his client, the fuck away from her sister, because they're sleeping together, and she thinks her sister, Megan, is in love with Oliver. Yeah, did I mention that Sierra's real name is Megan, not Sierra? Oliver then tries tracking down Sierra, goes to her job, to her apartment, and realizes that everything she's told him is a lie. And Sierra has a revelatory conversation with a woman at a bar. And I wasn't going to include this, but I wanted to because at some point the lady reads her.
There's something about you. You're calculating, but you're naive.
And what she says sounds like something the director of the show would have said if Dove Cameron walked up to them and asked, "Hey, what is Sierra like?"
In the end, I would say you're a good person.
Goddamn, just slap us with it, don't. Okay. Day 33, Oliver listens back to all of Sierra's voicemails, and then he takes some propofol to sleep, and then he wakes up half confused, half asleep, half awake, and then he stumbles into the bathroom, and he gets a call from his therapist, who tells him that the girl that he's sleeping with, Sierra, her real name is Megan Martin. She is Shane's sister. Not Paul, not the kid who died, but the kid who went to prison for it. And he's saying all this, and Elliot is just on the floor, passed out, unable to move. And then Sierra walks in as Dan is saying, "She's there to take revenge on you." And she's like,
It's okay, Dan.
He knows.
And then comes episode 7. And much like a previous video that I did, All Her Fault, this is the penultimate episode, the one that reveals the entire truth of what actually happened all those years ago, 16 to be precise. So, 16 years ago, Elliot had a friend, Shane, Megan's brother, and they had another friend called Paul who was a bit of an asshole. And one day an argument just got out of hand really fast through some piss poor dialogue.
"Is your mom in town? Is that why we can't go to your house?"
That ended up with Paul and Shane fighting in the river, in the water, and Paul was beating the fuck out of Shane, like winning. And Elliot, in a moment where his temper got the best of him, he jumped into the water, attacked Paul, and then just kept on attacking, got a little carried away, and drowned Paul by accident. Elliot then drove Shane home and he wanted to go to the police. Oliver wanted to confess to everything and try and say that it was self-defense. But Shane tells him it would have been self-defense if it was me, but it was you that did it. They're never going to believe it. So instead, let's just act like we never hung out this afternoon. We never saw Paul so that, when they find his body, it's totally unrelated to us. You just say that you stayed home studying. I'll pretend like I was at home with my sister all afternoon, like I was supposed to, and that's it. They have a plan. They won't say anything, and they'll both be fine. Perfect. Shane gets home all bruised from the fight that he had with Paul. Megan even confronts him and asks him about it, but he tells her to pretend like he's been home all afternoon. He never left. He never came home late. That's it. And it would have all been good and dandy if it wasn't for Elliot's anxiety getting the best of him. He's unable to sleep, and he mulls over the subject so much that he calls his father in tears one night and confesses to the crime. So off screen, his family, his father, I guess, come up with a plan. And the plan is for him to say that he was home all day, all afternoon, and then he woke up at midnight because Shane was at his door. So he never left, but Shane did, and Shane was out and about. And somehow that's enough to get Shane arrested, and he is arrested and convicted. But when he's arrested, he seemingly attacks Oliver and he draws a line on his stomach. And then Oliver gets home and he cuts himself where Shane drew the line. And then his school counselor finds him in the car bleeding and takes him home. School counselor Dan, and he patches him up and realizes that the kid is really damaged. So he calls his father and convinces him that his son needs a therapist full time. So that's how he slithered his way into 25 grand a month to listen to a billionaire yap about his conscience. I'll do it for half. Call me. But if that wasn't enough, Oliver did want to go to the police and he did want to reach out to Shane, and he even writes a letter confessing to the crime and apologizing profusely that he wants to send to prison, but he doesn't know how. So his therapist, a little fucking vermin, offers to take the letter himself to Shane and read it to him, except he doesn't read it. He keeps the letter, though, for blackmail purposes, should he ever need it. Then he visits Shane and manipulates and convinces him that he'd be better off dead, and Shane takes his life in prison, like shortly after his arrest. Oliver is inconsolable with grief. Mind you, at this point, Oliver has just been a pawn in his family's schemes of covering up everything. And what does the therapist do? He pumps him with drugs and unnecessary therapy, pointless therapy. And then he keeps him on that cocktail of drugs and therapy for years and years and years. We also find out that Dan doesn't actually have a license. He's been lying about it. He isn't actually qualified truly to be a psychiatrist, like to prescribe drugs to people, to patients. He is the worst of the worst. He is the true villain. And after Shane takes his life, his sister Shyla goes to Dan's office because she knows that he visited him in prison and punches him in the face, which is how he got a restraining order against her from present time when they're both grown-ups. So day 44, Oliver wakes up on the bathroom floor.
You're Megan.
Just in case you forgot. Megan recaps the whole season again, how she had a plan to make him pay and to make his life really bad, but then, got to him and saw how bad his life already was, and then fell for him. And they both professed their love for each other.
I'm so in love with you.
I'm so in love with you.
And I am so ready to jump off a cliff. Episode 8. Who the f is the body, guys? The question remains. It lingers. And would you believe that episode 8 starts with another recap? But not like a recap like previously on 56 Days. It's more like 137 days ago, Megan finds pictures of Oliver online, and then we see like clips that explain how she found out that he liked NASA and that's why she got the tote bag, or how she was watching him. And it's like all stuff that we already know. It's either stuff that we've seen or stuff that we've inferred through media literacy. It's like they don't want anyone to interpret anything. Day 34, and Sierra / Megan and Oliver are just, recapping their childhoods, realizing that they do come from the same place after all. And everything seems genuinely fine now. They're like, wow, they really moved past this elephant in the room, right? And then Dan arrives and Oliver answers the phone, and Oliver answers the door, and Dan is very stressed. And he looks at Megan, what the fuck is she doing here? And he's like, that's my girlfriend. She lives with me. And she removes herself from the room. She doesn't want to be in the presence of that big bloated beast. So she goes to the bedroom. And the conversation between Oliver and Dan goes very badly. It starts off with Oliver saying that he feels much better now. He hasn't felt this much clarity in so long. And Dan is like super anti-Megan. He's like, boo, boo. He's British at this point. He's like, ooh, no, Megan, fuck you, go away, out of this country. He's like, Megan is just here for your money. And he's like, well, so are you. And then he ends their relationship as therapist and client. And Dan starts threatening. He's like, okay, well, if you do that, I'm not going to have a choice but to report the police that I think that something bad was done. You know, I still have this letter that you wanted to send Shane confessing to the crime. Maybe you should pay for what you did. You know, I can't in good conscience keep this to myself now that you're not my client. And Sierra, Megan, hears just enough to realize that it's been the therapist all along. He's been brainwashing Oliver. He's been pumping him with drugs and convincing him to not go to the police, to not reach out, to not make things right, to not atone, to just isolate himself and be completely unhappy and full of drugs, which keeps him employed. So in the middle of his big hotshot speech, Sierra bashes his head in with an ugly piece of decoration. Poetic. Also, really satisfying death. He dies very slowly. He starts foaming at the mouth, and, you know, it's nice seeing bad people get what they deserve. So then Megan calls her sister, and she gives her some pointers on how to get rid of the body. And what they do is they put the body in the bathtub, and they fill it up with a bunch of chemicals like oven cleaner and bleach and all this kind of stuff, and then a heater inside of the room to warm the temperature and speed up the decomposing process, and to just leave a bunch of shit scattered, like stuff to confuse the police, so they take a while identifying the body, so that by the time they identify the body, they're not even going to care, because they're going to realize the person is a bad person, and it's just going to be like very half-ass investigation, all good. So that's what they do, and that's who the body in the bathtub was. Sierra then goes to see her sister to say goodbye, because she's going to have to go away because of the crime they just committed, and they tearfully say goodbye. And Oliver goes to see his boss, and it turns out Oliver is planning on turning himself in, but then decides against it last minute. No point in having another person in prison. So he meets her at the private hangar of the airport for his private jet, because remember, he's a billionaire, so there's just gonna... They have all the money in the world to do whatever they want. But the best part is how they get away with it, because there's still an investigation going on, right? So, this is so fucking stupid. Remember that I said that one of the detectives was sleeping with a criminal? So that criminal lives in the same apartment complex. That's how he gets pulled into the story somehow. And because their relationship goes awry, the criminal decides, no, I actually want to have sex with you whenever I want, and you're going to keep covering for me. Like, why would you threaten a detective like that, a police officer? But sure, whatever. So when he threatens her, her partner shows up and saves her. And then later that day, someone drives by and shoots at them, and she thinks it was him, her boyfriend / criminal. And because what she has been doing is really, really bad and against the law and whatever, they somehow find a way to get themselves removed from the case because there's conflict of interest, yada, yada. So then by the time that new detectives pick up the case and pick up the clues and the evidence that they were able to compile and do nothing about, the criminal's necklace just ends up in evidence. I don't know if she put it there or if it was an accident, but anyway, the criminal goes down for the crime. The random guy that she was sleeping with, the police officer. So like Oliver and Sierra / Megan run away in their private jet, but they don't even have to stay away. You know, they can literally just come back and have a normal life. He's a billionaire. Do you understand? Like, they're never gonna have to do anything, work, worry. They can live out their lives in hotel rooms and private jets until the day they die, and they would still not go poor. Could you imagine? Can you imagine having that much money and not doing something good for the world? That's why we say eat the rich, and that's why you can't be a good person and a billionaire. But by the end, the series ends with Megan and Oliver at a beach. She's blonde now. She finally got rid of the wig, and yet they put her in a hat. I'm choosing to believe the black hair was a wig, but if it was not, I am so sorry. It looks great either way. Great and terrible. It's weird. They're at this beach, and they now have a son. His name is Shane, and that's it, happily ever after. I don't even know how to conclude this story. That was several things. One, a big waste of time. That could have been 4 episodes, 3 at a push, but also wildly entertaining. I loved it. The twists were so stupid and the turns were so straight. Straggart behavior, love to see it. But most importantly, Dove Cameron. Wow. And that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure to leave it a like down below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It does help the channel and it is free. Do it. And let me know in the comments down below. Did you watch this series and what was your favorite aspect? My favorite aspect? Dove Cameron. Until next time, stay safe, stay sane, stay stupid, and stay stuttering. Bye, guys.